Good afternoon. What a beautiful day. Hope you're enjoying the day, the weekend. It's a beautiful Saturday. And we are going to read Matthew 23. Not a whole lot of chitter chatter, just reading Matthew 23 because we're reading through Matthew 21, 22 yesterday, 21 on Thursday, 22 yesterday, 23 today. We'll read 24 tomorrow. And then on Monday, 25, all the way through the end of the chapter on Thursday, the 28th, we'll be reading chapter 28. And I know, you're like, wait, we're going to be reading about resurrection on Thursday when he gets arrested. It's just because it matches up, and then it frees up our Friday and Sunday, because Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday, and I'm going to be recording the Friday program for the radio and all the videos ahead of time because I'll be doing our crosswalk and taking Good Friday off, so to speak. So right now we're going to read chapter 23 of Matthew. And Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, "The teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, so you must obey them and do everything they tell you, but do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy loads and put them on men's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. Everything they do is done for men to see. They make their phylacteries wide and the tassels on their garments long. They love the place of honor at banquets and the most important seats in the synagogue. They love to be greeted in the marketplaces, to have men call them rabbi. But you are not to be called rabbi, for you have only one master, and you are all brothers. And do not call anyone on earth father, for you have one Father, he is in heaven. Nor are you to be called teacher, for you have one teacher, the Christ. The greatest among you will be your servant, for whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Woe to you, the teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You shut the kingdom of heaven in men's faces. You yourselves do not enter, nor will you let those enter who are trying to. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You travel over land and sea to win a single convert, and when he becomes one, you make him twice as much a son of hell as you are. That's a pretty strong statement. Keep that in mind for just a minute. That's probably what we're going to go back to at the end here. Woe to you, blind guides! You say, if anyone swears by the temple, it means nothing, but if anyone swears by the gold of the temple, he is bound by oath. You blind fools! Which is greater, the gold or the temple that makes the gold sacred? You also say, if anyone swears by the altar, it means nothing, but if anyone swears by the gift on it, he's bound to this oath. You blind men, which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift sacred? Therefore, he who swears by the altar swears by it and everything on it. He who swears by the temple swears by it and by the one who dwells in it. He who swears by heaven swears by God's throne and by the one who sits on it. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You give a tenth of your spices, mint, dill, and cumin. But you have neglected the more important matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. You should have practiced the latter without neglecting the former. You blind guides, you strain out a gnat but swallow a camel. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You clean the outside of a cup and dish, but the inside are full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisees, first clean the inside of the cup and the dish, then the outside will also be clean. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of dead men's bones and everything unclean. In the same way, on the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You build tombs for the prophets and decorate the graves of the righteous, and you say, if we had lived In the days of our forefathers, we would not have taken part with them in shedding the blood of the prophets. So you testify against yourselves that you are the descendants of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up then the measure of sin to your forefathers. You snakes, you brood of vipers, how will you escape being condemned to hell? Therefore I am sending you prophets and wise men and teachers. Some of them you will kill and crucify, others you will flog in your synagogue and pursue from town to town. And so upon you will come to all the righteous blood that has been shed on earth, from the blood of the righteous, Abel to the blood of Zachariah, the son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. I tell you the truth, all this will come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you, how often I have longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. Look, your house is left to you desolate. For I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. That's Matthew 23, and I want to go back to two things. I want to go back to this verse 15. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You travel over the land and sea to win a single convert, but when he becomes a convert, you make him twice as much a son of hell as you are. He's saying that the teachers and Pharisees of the day, they're not sons of God, they're sons of hell. No wonder they didn't like him. And then we talk about this if we where was it at? If we had lived in the days, verse 29 through 32, mostly focusing on 30, and you say, if we had lived in the days of our forefathers, we would not have taken part with them in the shedding of the blood of prophets. That I want to discuss with us, because how many people have you heard? How many times have you thought to yourself, if I'd have been around when Jesus was around, man, I wouldn't have been like all those people that yelled, crucify him. I'd have been like Peter. And I'm not saying that some of us wouldn't be. I'm saying, are you being honest with yourself? First of all, Peter denied him during the time of the crucifixion. All the great men of the Bible, all of the apostles, these great men who followed him through his life, fled when they came to arrest him, take him away, and crucify him. Am I better than Peter? No. No, not even a little bit. I did a character study of Peter a while ago where we looked at his strength of character and his flaws honestly. At least I hope that's how it came out, is that it appeared, that it was that we were looking honestly at Peter. And we were looking at Peter honestly, not so that we could dishonor Peter or lessen his fervor and love of the Lord, because we can't. We have no power or authority over Peter's relationship with Christ. I looked at that and I looked at it honestly, because in looking at Paul, Peter, John, I want to do more character studies of these great men of the Bible. Looking at these character studies, these great men in the Bible, one of the things we realize is that these men who were broken, and not just broken before Jesus recruited them, if we're talking about the apostles. You could say Peter was broken. Jesus recruited him to be an apostle, and then he was perfect. No, you'd be lying to yourself. How many times did Jesus have to admonish Peter for his behavior? Recently, we were discussing Peter walking on the water. I forget who I was discussing it with. It doesn't really matter that much. It was either Ryan or Claire. Might have been my wife. I don't know. But we were discussing when Peter walked on the water and how he started walking. Jesus said, "Come to me," and he did. He got out of the boat and he went. And then after a few steps, his faith started to be a little shaky, right? And he started to sink. And Jesus, of course, reached out and saved him, right? This is in Matthew chapter 14, starts in verse 22. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat, and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone. But the boat was already a considerable distance from the land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they had cried. They cried out in fear, "It's a ghost." Jesus immediately said, "Take courage, do not be afraid, it is I." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." And Jesus said, "Come." Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink, crying out loud, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" Jesus said. And when they climbed onto the boat and the wind died down, then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." When they had crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized Jesus, they sent word to the surrounding country. People brought all their sick to him and begged him to heal them with just the touch of the edge of his cloak, and all who touched him were healed. And the person who I was talking to, and like I said, I can't remember if it was Claire or Ryan, or it might have been Wade, who knows, said to me, "Would you have gotten out of the boat?" So yes, Peter sunk. He doubted. He was afraid. He dipped a little bit into the water. Jesus saved him and then admonished him for having a little faith. But then he turns around and says that with a little faith, you can move mountains. So we have to look at that and we have to go, okay, wait a second. Do I have enough faith that I would have gotten out of the boat? That is the question. That is the ultimate question in this particular situation. Would I have gotten out of the boat? Peter got out of the boat and started walking towards Christ on the water. He trusted that he could. Granted, it didn't last. He wavered. I'm sure we've all been there. So yes, he was admonished for wavering, but I ask for myself, would I have even gotten out of the boat? How many of us haven't gotten out of the boat? How many of us are sitting in the boat going, "I ain't getting out, man. I think it might be the Lord there telling me to come. I think that's you, Jesus, telling me to come." How many of us wouldn't even have said, "Lord, if that's you, tell me to come and I'll get out of the boat and come to you"? Like, how many of us would have even spoken up? It's a testament to his faith in the beginning. But it's also an example of the fact that even someone with enough faith to get out of the boat, like Peter did, can waver. So it's an encouragement to me to know that someone like that can waver. And that although Christ admonished him, he still loved him, he still taught him, he still took him with him to the end. What do you think? Email me, chuckles@godslovelive.com. Tell me all about it.